My name is Zayn Malik. I'm 17 years old. 3 months ago, I died. I wasn't some spiritual kid. I didn't pray. I didn't go to mosque unless my parents forced me. Honestly, I thought all that religious stuff was pointless. My mom would cry during prayer, and my dad would whisper verses like they still meant something. But all I saw was a world falling apart around us, and God doing nothing. I was angry at the government, at the hypocrisy, at my parents, and, yeah, at God too. That day started like any other. School was dragging. I had my headphones in, tuning out the world. After class, I was walking home when I saw a crowd forming. Another protest. Same slogans, same faces, same hopeless fire in their voices. I rolled my eyes, ready to walk past, when I spotted Aliyah, a girl from my class, getting shoved by a police officer. I don't know what came over me. I grabbed a metal rod from the sidewalk to swing at the cop. I didn't see the live power line hanging just above. The second the rod touched it, everything exploded inside me, like fire in my veins. My chest seized. My mind shattered. And then, silence. No pain, no chaos, just silence. When I opened my eyes, I wasn't on the street anymore. I was standing in my grandmother's old kitchen, the one that collapsed in an earthquake when I was 6. But everything was clearer, sharper, realer than real. The walls glowed with warmth. The air felt alive. At the table sat a man I had never met before. Yet somehow, I knew him. He didn't shine like angels in the movies. He looked ordinary, young, Middle Eastern, like me. But his eyes, they held galaxies. Sadness, love, truth. I started crying before he said a word. "Sit down, Zayn," he said, speaking perfect Farsi. I sat, trembling. Somehow, deep in my bones, I knew exactly who he was. Jesus. And that's when my near-death experience story truly began. 2. Jesus looked at me like he had known me forever. Not in the creepy way, but like a brother. An older brother who'd seen all of me. My shame, my thoughts, my rage, and still didn't flinch. I didn't know how to feel. I was frozen, confused, scared, and weirdly, safe. "You're mad at me," he said gently. I swallowed hard. "Yeah, I am." My voice cracked, but I didn't care anymore. "Where were you?" I asked. When my best friend bled out on the sidewalk for chanting freedom. When my dad lost his job just for speaking the truth. When my grandma got crushed in her own house and we buried her in pieces. Where were you then? He didn't interrupt. He just nodded, like he'd been waiting for me to ask that my whole life. "I was there," he said softly. "In the pain, in the tears, in the anger. I was there." "That's not enough," I snapped. "That's not an answer." "No," he agreed. "It's not, but it's the truth." And then everything changed. We were no longer in the kitchen, no longer in the house. Suddenly, we were floating above the earth. Cities, oceans, lights, everything stretched beneath us like a map. But I wasn't looking at buildings or countries. I was seeing decisions. I saw leaders in suits, sitting around long tables. Their faces were calm, professional, cold. But hovering above them were these twisted, shadowy things, creatures I couldn't name. Not human, not animal, something darker. They leaned in and whispered into the ears of the powerful. I couldn't hear the words, but I felt them. Pride, greed, revenge. Jesus looked into the scene and said, "These are demons, and they've been doing this since the beginning." I watched one of them whisper to a man, important, I could tell. He paused, nodded, and signed a document. The demon smiled like it had won a game. "What did he just do?" I asked, a sick knot tightening in my stomach. Jesus' eyes darkened. "He authorized the first strike." Then I saw it. I saw nuclear missiles rising. and my near-death experience story turned into a nightmare I would never forget. The world below exploded into fire. No warning, no time to process. Just flash, then nothing. I saw cities I recognized: Tehran, Tel Aviv, New York, reduced to smoke and silence. I saw people turn to ash where they stood. A mom holding her baby. Kids on a school bus. A man selling fruit on a corner. Gone. Just like that. I screamed. My body. My soul. It all convulsed in horror. Even though I was just watching, I felt like it was happening to me. The pain, the terror, the helplessness. I threw up. I was floating in the sky, watching Earth tear itself apart, and I vomited from the fear. "Make it stop," I begged, turning to Jesus. "Please, make it stop." "I can't," he said. His voice wasn't angry, but it wasn't soft either. It held weight, like he was carrying all of this on his shoulders. "You're God. You can do anything." "I can," he said quietly, "but I won't. Not unless people ask me to." I gave them free will, and they've used it to create this. That moment, it changed everything. I'd always thought God was some angry king throwing lightning bolts, but he wasn't. He was a father, a heartbroken father watching his kids destroy each other and waiting for one of them to turn around and ask for help. "How many people die?" I asked, my voice trembling. "In the first strike? 14 million. In the war that follows? Over 200 million. And after that..." He didn't finish the sentence. I didn't want him to. "But it hasn't happened yet," he said suddenly. "Not if people wake up. Not if they start praying. Not if they start seeing each other instead of hating each other." The fire faded, and I saw something new. People gathering. Not just Muslims, but Christians, Jews. All kinds of people from different countries, different languages, praying together, crying out, kneeling, holding hands. And the demons, they ran. Every single one of them. Gone. Jesus turned to me. "This is what prayer looks like in the spirit world." And I realized. My near-death experience story wasn't just for me. It was a warning for all of us. I watched, stunned, as the prayers got louder. They weren't fancy or rehearsed. Some people could barely get the words out. Others just sobbed. But the honesty of their hearts, it burned like fire in the darkness. I could actually see it, like light pushing back against the black smoke of the demons. "Prayer isn't just words," Jesus said. "It's war." I nodded, barely breathing. Because I could see it now. Every genuine prayer, every act of faith sent out shockwaves, and the darkness couldn't stand it. "I don't understand," I whispered. "Why doesn't anyone talk about this? Why doesn't anyone tell us this is how it works?" He looked at me, those eyes full of sorrow and fire. "Because most have forgotten. They've replaced prayer with politics. They think changing laws will save them. They think strength and power will protect them. But they're fighting spiritual enemies with physical weapons." I shook my head, tears rolling down my face. "But I'm just a kid. I don't even go to mosque that often. Why me?" And for the first time since we met, Jesus smiled. "Because you're exactly the kind of person no one expects. Adults expect to hear from scholars, from leaders, from the religious elite. But I've always used the unexpected ones. Shepherds, fishermen, teenagers." He reached out, and the scene changed again. Now I saw people forgiving each other. Acts of real love between people who should have hated one another. Muslims hugging Jews. Christians washing the feet of refugees. People letting go of their pride, their pain, and choosing to see the human behind the label. Each act released a pulse of light. Each moment confused the demons, threw them into chaos. They didn't know what to do with love. They only knew how to feed on fear, hate, division.
I stared in awe. "You're showing me all of this so I can tell others?" I asked, already knowing the answer. Jesus nodded. "Yes, all of them. Muslims, Christians, Jews, anyone who will listen. Because if they pray together, truly pray, the war doesn't have to happen." I swallowed hard, because suddenly, the weight of my near-death experience story wasn't just mine. It belonged to the world. When I realized what he was asking me to do, go back and tell the world what I had seen, I froze. "No," I whispered. "I can't. I don't want to go back. It's too hard down there." Jesus stepped closer. His expression wasn't stern. It was heartbreakingly gentle. "I know, Zane," he said, and somehow, hearing him say my name made everything inside me ache. "I know what waits for you. The pain, the disbelief, the loneliness. But if you don't go back, who will tell them?" I started to shake, not from fear, but from the weight of it all. I was just a kid who hated going to mosque, who cussed at video games, who argued with his parents and doubted everything. And now I was being asked to deliver a message to the world. "They're not going to believe me," I said. "My friends will laugh. My family will think I've gone insane. My imam will say I'm blaspheming." Jesus looked me dead in the eyes. "Some won't believe, but some will, and that might be enough." He placed a hand over my chest. I swear I felt warmth, like fire, but it didn't burn. "You don't need to be perfect to be chosen," he said. "You just need to be willing." I swallowed hard, tears streaming freely now. "What if I mess it up?" "You will," he said softly, "but I'll still be with you." Then he leaned in and whispered something I will never forget. "Tell them I love them, even when they doubt, even when they're furious, even when they hate me, I love them still." And then it happened. I was pulled backwards, ripped out of that place like a breath being sucked back into lungs, and I screamed. I sat bolt upright in a hospital bed, doctors shouting, machines beeping, my mother's voice crying my name. I had been dead for 31 minutes. But I came back with something stronger than a heartbeat. I came back with purpose. Waking up in that hospital room felt stranger than the afterlife. The doctor's eyes were wide like he'd seen a ghost. Maybe he had. My mom was clinging to my hand, sobbing, whispering prayers over and over. A nurse stared at the monitor, shaking her head. "This shouldn't be happening," she whispered to herself. 31 minutes. No heartbeat. No brain activity. But I was awake. Alert. No brain damage. No memory loss. Just one overwhelming truth pulsing through me. It was all real. But saying that out loud? That's where the real pain started. I told my parents first. My mom wept. Not from awe. From fear. "Don't say things like that, Zane," she begged. "People will think something's wrong with you." My dad just stared, silent, stiff, like I had betrayed something ancient. When the imam came to visit, I told him what I saw. I watched his face tighten, his jaw set. "These are hallucinations," he said sharply. "Trauma. Nothing more." He left without praying for me. And my friends, the ones I thought I knew, they either laughed, unfollowed me, or told me I was trying to get famous. "You saw Jesus?" they'd sneer. "What are you now, a Christian?" But I wasn't trying to convert. I wasn't trying to be anything. I just couldn't unsee it. That's when the dreams started. Vivid, terrifying, precise. I'd see a leader sign a paper. I'd wake up sweating. 2 days later, I'd watch the news and see it happen. I started reaching out, online, messaging other teenagers, Muslims, Christians, Jews, telling them what Jesus showed me. Most didn't reply. Some cursed me, but a few listened, and slowly something began to grow. Prayer groups, not for conversion, but for peace, across borders, across religions, across everything we thought divided us. It was weird, beautiful, fragile, and real. Even my own faith started shifting.
I read the Quran now and feel Jesus in the verses I once ignored. My prayers feel deeper. My fasting carries a purpose I never knew. The world hadn't changed, but I had. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough to start something bigger. 3 weeks ago, I had the most terrifying dream since all this began. In it, I saw the same man from my earlier vision, the one who signed the nuclear authorization. He was sitting at a desk, papers in front of him, hands trembling. The same demon was there too, whispering in his ear, feeding him fear, feeding him pride. And just like before, he reached for the pen. I woke up screaming. I couldn't breathe. It felt like my chest was splitting open. I knew what it meant. I knew this wasn't just another dream. It was a warning. I didn't waste a second. I posted everywhere I could. Twitter, here, Instagram, Reddit, Discord. I didn't care how crazy I looked. I begged people to pray. Not to convert, I wrote. Not for politics. Just pray. Together. Please. 2 days later, something changed. The man withdrew the authorization, quietly. No big news story, just a brief line on international press. Leader cancels strategic action due to unexpected reconsideration. When I read that, I dropped my phone and wept, because I knew. I knew prayer had done it. It wasn't because of me, I'm just a kid. But somewhere, people prayed, people believed, and darkness lost a battle. It was so sure it had already won. Now, I pray every night before bed, sometimes with tears, sometimes with trembling, but always with fire in my soul. I pray for the leaders, for the confused, for the angry. I pray for the demons to be silenced. I pray for more kids like me, who see beyond religion and reach for peace. Sometimes I still get mad, still get tired, but I've learned that even anger can be holy, if it drives you to your knees instead of to hate. We're not too late. Not yet. But the clock is ticking. Jesus said, prayer isn't about words, it's about war. And now I believe him. I don't care if people laugh at me, block me, or say I'm crazy. I know what I saw. I know what I felt. And if sharing it helps even one more person rise up to pray, then maybe the end I saw can still be rewritten, because we still have time. Just not much.